How old was Terah when Abraham was born? In this video, you'll find out. Reminder, hit the subscribe button below and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date as new videos come out. And if you're interested in supporting this ministry, just go to justscripture.org and click on the support page. When it comes to biblical chronology, deciding in which year of Terah's that Abraham was born has some reconciling to it, as Genesis 11:26 says, "And Terah lived 70 years, and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran." Then in 11:32, "And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran." And we also know from 25:7 that Abraham lived to be 175 years old. So, the father and son chronology appears to look like this. And you could list out Abraham's events, but we will need to add Abram's call at age 75 on our timeline because it's a very key event in our discussion. Now, it seems like things are okay until you read about the family moves that happened before and after Terah's recorded death in 1132. 1131 says, "And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, the wife of Abram, his son, and went out with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. And they went to Haran, and they settled there." So, the first move obviously happened before chapter 12 and Terah's death. Then, chapter 12 starts with the call saying, "Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed." So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So, Abram's move into Canaan was at 75, making Terah 145 at this point, but his death was recorded before the call. So, how can that be explained? Well, the person would have to say that Terah's death was recorded before Abraham's call to let the reader know that he was transitioning the focus of the story to a new character. But, back on the ground level, is that 60 years later that Abraham would have likely returned back to Haran to bury his dad, but it just wasn't recorded. And most people will probably think on that like, okay, that makes sense. But what that person likely won't bring up is Acts 7 with Stephen's sermon to the Sanhedrin. He said, "Men, brethren and fathers, hearken. The God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Haran, and said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I will show thee. Then came Abraham out of the land of the Chaldeans, and dwelt in Haran. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land where you all now dwell." Notice that Stephen said that Abraham left Haran after Terah died, not 60 years before. So, this would then shift the timeline forward with Abraham's call in the 75th year of his to Terah's death. That would then make Terah's 130th year the year in which Abraham was born. Now, those of you, and there are others though, that really get into biblical chronology will probably start to fight over this because it's a 60-year difference. And, people like that are likely trying to date events that happened prior to this, like the Tower of Babel, the flood, and creation. But let's just stick to this topic alone and determine which view is correct, because the 70th year advocate will have to say that 1126 that 1126 clearly places Abraham first out of the three brothers. But by saying that is that then they would have to say that the father that it's listed in Acts 7:4 that died was not Terah, but Grandpa Nahor, because the father in the setting back then could imply that, it was just an ancestor of yours that you descended from. But the issues that come with this are, first, that Grandpa Nahor would have been dead for 26 years at this point. So it doesn't make sense with Stephen's account, where he clearly has Abraham leaving soon after the death of his father. Second is that 1131 clearly has Terah taking the family from Ur to Haran. His dad Nahor is not listed in the family caravan. And third is that 12:5 says, "And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came." This just said that Abram took the whole family nest egg into Canaan, including the help. So, do you really think he left Dad up there with nothing in Haran for 60 years? Obviously not. But how does the later date proponent reconcile 1126 apparent birth order? The answer is that Abraham was only listed first because of his preeminence in the family and in the story of Genesis, and not because of birth order. And there actually is a prior biblical example of this that we can go to, and that's with Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It says that Noah was 500 years old when he started to have his boys, and 600 when the flood occurred, which would then make Shem 100 years at the time of the flood, if you're going off of these two verses. But 11:10 says that Shem was 100 years old 2 years after the flood when he had Arphaxad, making him actually 98 years old at the time of the flood, which likely has him being listed, or he was actually birthed last in the birth order, but was listed first here because his line is where Abraham comes from, and then that extends into Isaac, Jacob, the 12 tribes, and thus it includes the Messianic line. And the writer of 1 Chronicles shows us that there is a switch that probably occurred with the writer, because he gives Shem's descendants out last out of the three brothers. So the correct way to reconcile Genesis and Acts 7 is seeing that Abraham's move into Canaan occurred after the death of his father. Reminder, hit the subscribe button below, turn on the notification bell, hit the like button, and leave a comment. And don't forget to visit us at justscripture.org. But in the meantime, stay salty.